First, yeah, we had discussed you
want me to share Sloka 31 or no?
No, not now. Yeah.
Okay.
It started with Ashocyan Anvasochastvam, an 11th sloka of the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna had asked for Shreyas, and Bhagwan started with that. Because Arjuna was giving a philosophical logic, so first Bhagwan answered him at the level of philosophy. And he straight away started, you are grieving about those who are not to be grieved. For both the reasons, if you go by philosophy, then anyone who is alive or dead, you need not grieve for. And if you go by dharma and adharma, then those who are on the side of adharma, you should not be grieving for. So whichever way you look at it, you should not be grieving for those people. And then he first talked about the Atma. As I said, we will be discussing it later. And since Atma doesn't die, cannot be killed, nothing happens to Atma. So if you are talking like a Pandita, like a wise person, then come to that level. And at that level, there is no death. So why do you worry? Then he shifted his gears, and then he came to the level of Swadharma. Okay, Swadharmam api chavekshi. Like, even if you consider the concept of Swadharma, what is to be done, what is not to be done, then also as a Kshatriya, it is your dharma to fight for a war for a righteous cause. In fact, it opens the gateway to the heaven. And we had discussed that earlier, that concept of life after death, it was more real a couple of centuries, up to a couple of centuries back. Only in the last 1 or 2 centuries, things have changed. All the different faiths everywhere, they definitely talk in detail about life after death. Even those who do not believe in another life, they also believe in the last life. Like the Semitic, those Abrahamic religions, they don't believe in rebirth. But then they believe in one thing, that a person who is dead and who is buried, then there is a last day, the day of judgment, or the day of Qayamat, or whatever. They have different concepts. That is the day when all the dead bodies will get up, come out, and a judgment will be passed based on their faith, whether they believe in that particular doctrine or not. Based on that, they will be sent to heaven or hell permanently. So still they have something after death, a life after death. Maybe only one life, but still they believe in that. So all across the world, life after death is considered. And the same thing was persistent here in this land also. So going to Swarga was important. In fact, we have this terminology in the north that they don't call it death, they call it Swargavasa. Like the person has departed for heaven. So that terminology is because of this, the concept of Swarga. So he said, Bhagavan said that even if you consider the Swadharma part, then also, that reminds me, I'll come back to that. Then also it is important that you should fight this war. Last time I had used the word, first I used the word stature, then I changed it to profession while describing Swadharma. I am making a correction. I will use the word occupation. That is a even better word than profession. So one's Swadharma depends upon the stage of one's life as well as the occupation in which one is occupied. Okay, so that decides the Swadharma of the person. And being a society where Swadharma was considered very important, here I would like to introduce these 4 Purusharthas, or the 4 goals of life. Those are that Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Now, Artha means seeking security. Kama means seeking fulfillment of desires. These 2 pursuits or goals of life, they are inherent in a person. They are instinctual. They need not be taught. They come almost automatically in a person, either genetically or by observing other people around, based on one's own temperament. So, Artha and Kama, these 2 Purusharthas need not be taught. They come automatically. Then there is another Purushartha, what is called as Dharma. Dharma is a goal in life because Artha and Kama, if they remain unregulated, they can bring disaster in life. So Dharma regulates Artha and Kama to make them sustainable. I'll give you an example. There were the famous Charuvakas. Charuvakas had this famous slogan, Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet, Rinam Kritva Ghritam Pivet, Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Punaragamanam Putah. What does it mean? As long as you live happily. Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet. As long as you live happily. Rinam Kritva Ghritam Pivet. Beg or borrow. Or even if you have to borrow money, Rinam Kritva means take Rinam, take debt, loan, and drink ghee, Ghritam Pivet. Because at that time, drinking ghee was considered a luxury. Okay, so live happily. That was considered living life happily in luxury. So even if you have to borrow money or borrow wealth, do it and enjoy life with drinking ghee or consuming ghee. Why? Because after once you are dead, there is no coming back. So only those people will cry who have from whom you borrowed the money, because they can't get the money back anymore. So don't worry about that. That's their problem. That was the theory of Charuvaka. And that was a totally consumerist viewpoint. Okay. Now, then came the neo-Charvakas, they were little intelligent, little thinking people, even though they believed in this theory that yes, after death, nothing happens. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy life fully at any cost. But then they were thinkers. They thought that you can borrow money only as long as the number of borrowers is less than the number of people who are lending money. If everybody starts borrowing money, then there won't be lenders left. So this theory will fail. Okay, did you get it? Did you get my point? Only in the society, if maximum 50% can be borrowers, so that the remaining 50% become lenders of money, and these borrowing people, they can borrow money and then enjoy. And theoretically, maximum 50% is possible. Practically, even 50% you cannot. You cannot have that number. Okay, so they said to regulate this. They said, no, you don't borrow money. You earn money and live happily. So they again brought in the concept of dharma in some ways. Okay, and their concept is similar to the modern day corporate dharma. Corporates, what is their dharma generally? There may be a long written explanation and their mission statement, vision statement, etc., whatever. Though that is for public consumption. Their internal goal is maximize profits at any cost. That is the general corporate goal. There may be few exceptions. I don't deny that, but majority of them, their dharma is by any means make profits at any cost. Now, but they also follow some dharma. Why? Because if they don't follow that dharma, then they will be in trouble. Their profits will be in trouble. So they follow only those rules or that much of dharma or the rules which doesn't hurt their profits. Otherwise, if profits are not hurt, they can go to any extent to violate the dharma. Even some people are making allegations, and there may be some truth in it, because it cannot be all false. That all this COVID and all, the type of virus it is and the way it is mutating and all, it is a mischief. It cannot be something which is very natural. And there could be vested interest in promoting this virus for various reasons, including selling the vaccines. So anyway, you cannot deny it, nor you can prove it at the moment. Maybe only after a couple of decades, the more truth will come out. So dharma regulates artha and kama. So it becomes purushartha, or a goal of life, because unregulated dharma, artha and kama can bring disaster to life. A person can fall sick, can go astray, may lose the direction in life, and life may be totally lost. So dharma makes the fulfillment of desires sustainable. So that way it becomes another goal of life. Then there is another there could be another goal in life, and which is called moksha, and that is freedom, or a lasting freedom from sorrow, and that we will discuss separately. So anyway, swadharma becomes important because swadharma fulfills one's goal in life of enjoyment, of fulfilling dreams, fulfilling desires in a regulated manner, which is sustainable. And that is why it becomes important. Here in the Bhagavad Gita, we will see in the later shlokas, especially from Bhagavan changes another gear, and that is from shloka number 40, 39 and 40. There we will find Bhagavan says that following one's swadharma, that means regulating the artha and kama through certain rules, one can either fulfill one's desires or one can also direct that swadharma towards freedom from sorrow permanently. So it's a choice given to a person. I'll come back and explain this when that shloka comes. Okay. So here I wanted to say, last time we had discussed, many times we hear spiritual life is different from religious life, etc. And I showed that this is a wrong concept which was foisted upon us by first giving a wrong translation, first translating dharma as religion, then making a segregation between a religious life and a spiritual life. Whereas really speaking, swadharma includes spiritual life. There is no segregation in the eyes of the Shastra. The scriptures don't distinguish between a religious life or a spiritual life. Everything is actually spiritual only. So, Bhagwan brought in this concept of Swadharma, and then he also started talking about the practical difficulties of not fighting the war. He even reminded Arjuna, Atha chet tu imam dharmyam. This is shloka number 33. 32 said, Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavritam. Rajeshi, could you please open that screenshot? Shloka number 31 onwards. Are you there? Okay, if you are not there, fine. So
give me 1 second, please.
Okay, it will be helpful. I'll quickly go through some of the shlokas. As I said, in some shlokas I'll spend more time, some I'll be totally skipping, and some I will go faster. Because there is something very important I wanted to say. I hope I'll be able to reach that shloka today. Yeah. Shloka number 32. Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavritam sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddham edrisham. You are so lucky. You are getting an opportunity as a kshatriya to fight for a war, a dharma yuddha, which is like a open gateway to heaven. So in considering this also, it's so important that you fight. Atha chetu imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tataswadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. Rajesh, please be ready for the next screenshot after this.
No problem.
Now, even after knowing this, if you refuse to fight and then you are a loser and on 2 counts. One is you degrade yourself from your duties, which will incur papam. Papam means sin. And also, you will get bad name in the society. So on both the counts, you are a loser. Next one. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtihi maranaditi atirichyate. And for a kshatriya, akirti means a bad name. A bad name is worse than even death. And people will be talking all things about you. That Arjuna got frightened and he was a weakling. He never actually could fight the war. And he just came, he saw, and he was so afraid, so he gave up the fight, etc., etc. Some other people will say, due to some extraneous reasons, he didn't fight. There will be gossips and rumors all around for different reasons. But finally, it will be that it will bring bad name to you. Next sloka, please. Yeah. Bhayadranatu paratam mansyante tvam maharathaha yesham chat tvam bahumatah bhutva yasyasi laghavam. And this we have already discussed. They will say that you got afraid and therefore you couldn't fight. Avachya vadamsya bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkhataram nukim. This also we discussed. They will be talking a lot many things and they will criticize your capabilities, and that will be really painful for you. Then hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nischaya. So if you are dead, then you will get swarga. If you are alive, then there are certain gains. So therefore you get up and fight. Next sloka. Okay, so Bhagavan till sloka number 30, I think. Just a second. 25, 29. Sloka number 30. Till sloka number 30 of the second chapter, he was talking at the level of Atma. Okay, that is pure knowledge, jnanam. Then he made a little bit of digression. He brought in Swadharma and Kirti, Apakirti. Apakirti means loss of name and fame. All these concepts he brought in just to encourage Arjuna to fight. And then again in from sloka number 39, he picks up the thread. Picks up the thread of what? Of the Atma concept. What he says, sloka number 39, Esha te bhita sankhye buddhir yogam tu imam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. How much time do we have? Because
we have enough time.
We have enough time. Okay. Yeah. Because certain things I cannot leave halfway. That is why. So what he left in sloka number 29, 30, he picked up again in 39. In between, he took a little bit of digression. Here he talks about, because Arjuna had asked for Shreyas. Shreyas means what is really good for him, what is the ultimate good for him. So he is giving the ultimate good for him, that is freedom, lasting freedom from sorrow. Now, how to attain that lasting freedom from sorrow? One is either you understand the nature of the Atma, and based on that understanding, your sorrow is gone. But if you are not able to understand that, and still you want the sorrow to be gone, then there is another way. And what is the way? That is going to explain. So again, coming back to the 4 Purusharthas, Artha, Kama, Dharma and Moksha. Artha, Kama need not be taught, as we discussed already. That is instinctual. It comes naturally to us, fulfilling one's desire, fulfilling the need for security, etc. Dharma is used to help us in achieving Artha and Kama. Generally, people may not be aware of the concept of moksha, or even if they are aware of it, they may not really believe in it, that they really want it. Lasting freedom from sorrow, who wants it? Whether it really exists or not, we don't know, etc., etc. Now, this dharma, we have to see that 4. In 4, Artha and Kama is one group. Okay. Moksha on the other side. At the center, let us see dharma. Now, dharma can be used for the fulfillment of Artha and Kama. Even sometimes the acts of charity could be for Artha and Kama. How? I'll tell you. It could be directly or indirectly. For example, the act of charity of corporates is sometimes to bring goodwill to the company that sells their product well, and that helps them create a brand in the society, and the brand name continues, and they sell it forever. So that is directly using charity for Artha and Kama. Okay. Indirectly also, one can use dharma or good work or charity for Artha and Kama. How? At least in India, we see all the time. There will be beggars who will say, you please donate, may you live long, may your children live long, may you get lot of wealth. So we do charity, so that through that charity, something more will come. So the charity becomes an investment for fulfillment of Artha and Kama. Correct? And charity is considered an activity of dharma. So that way, we use dharma for the fulfillment of Artha and Kama. Now, the same dharma can also be used for pursuing lasting freedom from sorrow, that is moksha. And that is a choice one has to make. Okay. Again, we recall about our happiness, the pursuit of happiness. We are helplessly driven towards Artha and Kama because that's how we are programmed. The elephant is programmed for that, mostly. And the elephant finds all the logic in terms of the rider. And it has its own, that emotional self, which is the elephant. It has its own thinking. It has its own logic, everything. In fact, most of the logic of the rider gets aligned to the elephant's logic. Means what? Again, remember, confabulation. We decide first. We already know I want it. Then I find a logic why I want it. And then try to explain to myself or to the others. Okay. But already I had decided this is what I want. So, and Artha and Kama drives that person. All the so-called free will is not so free. We have seen that in teenagers. The teenagers, when they fall in love, they think they are doing it out of free will. Almost all of them. Isn't it true? We have all gone through the teenage. So it's a human nature. But really speaking, it's not the free will. It's the endocrine system the hormones which are falling in love. And then they're providing logic for it. Similarly, we have our own likes and dislikes. We have our own likes and dislikes based upon our gut feeling, the gut brain, what we call, and the hormones and other genetic factors which guides our thinking, which guides our life. In fact, as we had discussed earlier, we come to know about our decision on an average 7 seconds later than when the brain has already decided. So whose decision is it? Is it mine? What a silly idea. It's all pre-decided 7 seconds before I come to know about it. So there is no, this free will is such a big illusion. And we have made such a big hoopla out of it. And we talk left, right, top, center, everywhere. Now we are free, we have free will, and then we have our own logical brain. Rationally we decide, we analyze things and all. Most of it is bogus talks. It can be punctured just if one listens to or reads the books for a couple of hours very carefully. So it is all like inside. The instinctual self, the emotional self decides it, and that is guided in which has been given the word artha and kama in the Shastra. So artha and kama guides the person, and that person uses dharma again for the fulfillment of artha and kama because he wants to be happy. Only when this person comes to an understanding that fulfillment of artha and kama does give me happiness, but it also makes me unhappy after the happiness fades away, then is there something which is more permanent, which is more lasting, and which gives me a lasting freedom from sorrow? When this question arises, we call that person a jignasu, a person who wants to know. Wants to know means what? He always wanted to know many things. But jignasu word is a little technical word, especially when the scriptures talk about it. It is about, is there a different way other than fulfillment of artha and kama, fulfillment of my desires and the need for security to be happy? Is there any other way? That makes the person a jignasu. And how does it happen? How this jignasa comes? There is where the scriptures say, if I follow dharma and do not encash that dharma, dharma means the charity or good work, whatever I am doing, do not encash it in terms of artha and kama, then that accumulated dharma, okay, that accumulated good actions, good deeds of mine converts me into a jignasu. Okay, so this swadharma may help us in fulfillment of artha and kama, but if we don't encash it for fulfillment of artha and kama, then it gets, the reserve builds up and makes me a jigyasu. And here the Shastra only is the pramanam. Shastra is the pramanam means we have to accept what Shastra says, that this is how it happens. And of course, one can verify it later, that one stops fulfillment of artha and kama deliberately and still continues with the dharma activity. Within a couple of years, you will find the thought starts changing. New questions start coming up. What is life? Why this? Why that? All these things, these queries will start coming up. So it can be verified. But before verification, it's a matter of faith. So Bhagavan here wants to say that if you cannot understand directly about Atma and directly about moksha, etc., don't worry. You do one thing. You change your gears. Follow dharma. Follow your swadharma. Dharma, follow dharma means follow your swadharma. But for what? Not for fulfillment of artha and kama, but for the pursuit of moksha. That what I want in return for this following of my dharma, I want a lasting solution from sorrow. When that is the sankalpa, when that is my basic desire, then the whole thing changes. Otherwise, till that time, I am a slave of artha and kama. In fact, artha and kama drives all my thinking, all my logic, and all my activities. And I call it my free will, the activities of my free will, thinking of my free will, etc. No, it is all artha and kama, which is driving that desire to be continuously renewing my happiness from this, from that, from buying things, getting things, rejecting things, removing things, etc. Trying to make adjustments constantly. So this change is also called Buddhi Yoga, because there is a change in thinking. Earlier, my thinking was directed towards artha and kama. Now that thinking is directed towards the pursuit of moksha. So I deliberately refuse to be a slave in the hands of my basic desire of artha and kama, my basic pursuit of artha and kama. I say, okay, artha and kama can take a back seat, but most of it will be for moksha. That change of thinking is also called a Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is not a special karma I am doing. The same karma which I have been following or doing, I continue with the same karma, which is my swadharma. But now the goal has changed. The goal is not artha and kama. Okay? It is moksha. I'm not saying artha and kama are totally neglected and one becomes total vairagi and it's only moksha. Need not happen. But at least there is a shift. Earlier, I never used to think that there is something called a lasting solution from the freedom from sorrow. Now at least I started thinking about it and doing something about it. That small change, that small shift also, swalpam api asya dharmasya, 40th sloka, neha bhikrama nashosti, pratyavayo na vidyate, swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Performing the action in the spirit of karma yoga, which is also called buddhi yoga, even little bit, it removes or it protects one from mahato bhayat, from the biggest of fears, which is the cycle of birth and death. How? Because now this person has started investing little bit in something else. It is like this. A person has been spending money, but spending money on, are there some commerce related people, commerce, accounts, finance, etc.? They will understand it better. So a person started spending money. He has been spending money, but most of the spending is on those assets which have depreciation. For example, if I spend money on a mobile phone, today, okay, a big money, say 50,000 rupees, maybe $1,000, whatever you call in your currency. After 2 years, what will be the value of that phone? Maximum it will be 25,000, half, or it could be even lesser, depending on the type of use. But if I spend or invest that money in some other asset, for example, gold or silver or something similar, those metals, then after 2 years, what will be the value? At least 80% of what is today, or it could even appreciate. And in India, if you invest in property, then of course there are cycles of dips and rises. But at the end of 10 years, the prices will be more. That is called appreciative investment. So even if one does small investment at regular intervals in a better asset, which we call appreciative asset, it will have a long-term effect. Similarly, even if a small portion of my swadharma is directed towards moksha, that accumulated, that's a different kind of investment. That's not a depreciating investment. That accumulated karma in that direction will gradually make me a jignasu and will make me capable of understanding what Bhagwan had said up to shloka number 29 or whatever about Atma, etc. Then there is another thing he said, na abhikrama nasah asti. What is abhikrama nasah? There are certain actions which you leave in between, then the result becomes zero. For example, if you are a swimmer and you have to cross the river and you say, I can swim only up to the half of the river. After that, my muscles don't work. Then you will drown. That's useless. Or there are many other types of activities where halfway, if you cook the food half and leave it, that food is a waste. Either you should not start cooking or you should complete the cooking. Halfway cooking doesn't work. So that is called abhikrama nasha. Abhikrama nasha means till you bring it to completion, a logical conclusion, there is a loss of that effort if you put it in certain activities. There are certain activities even in the prescribed by scriptures, which you cannot do halfway. Either you do full or you don't even start. But in case of this karma yoga, this problem doesn't exist. You start and you leave, doesn't matter. Whatever you have invested, it remains in the reserve. So abhikrama nasha na asti. It doesn't exist. Pratyavayo na vidyate. Pratyavaya means doing something, you may not gain much, but not doing will attract sin. Okay, that is pratyavaya dosha. Such problem doesn't exist with karma yoga. You do, you will get something. If you don't do, you won't get anything, but you won't incur sin. So this is a very different way of doing karma. Really speaking, this is a relative freedom of a person. Freedom from that helplessness, freedom from being slave to one's instincts. One rises beyond instincts and say, I still do the karma. That's another level of freedom. Okay? It's a relative freedom. And of course, ultimate freedom, we will talk differently. We'll talk later. But this itself is a big freedom. Otherwise, a person is slave to one's senses, one's hormones, one's gut feeling, one's genetic factors, and he says, I am a free person. What freedom are you talking? Even all likes, dislikes, he will talk all big philosophy, and he will be a racist in employing people. There are so many inconsistencies. He will, in fact, he will say, you should walk your talk. But when it comes to his own life, full of incongruencies. Why? Helpless. Can't do much. He tries his best, but then there are so many pulls and pushes. It's all in the body, in the genes, in the gut, in the hormones, in so many things. Even in mind, can't do anything. That much helpless a person is, who thinks himself that he is so powerful, so free, and so logical, and he can do anything. I pursue my dreams, all big talks. But when you dig little bit inside, all the weaknesses come in the forefront. This type of karma, the karma yoga, brings one out from those weaknesses. How? By one's own choice. One says, no, all my karmas will not go for artha and kama. Some of them will go for moksha, a different investment. Then what is the next? Oh, okay, our time is almost over, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
So, okay, maybe we'll stop it here. It has reached up to a certain level. And I invite questions from people if they have any. Questions, please.
I think Rupalji asked one question in the chat box. Rupalji, do you want to ask yourself or do I want to read? Do you want me to read?
It doesn't matter. Whichever.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So
Okay.
you can go ahead and ask. Yeah.
Okay. Question is, in the case, this is related to the Dharma duty. In the case where entire nations are at war, then what becomes the duty of someone who is not a Kshatriya? And do the same ramifications apply? In other words, if there's a big war effort, what becomes the duty of someone who is not Kshatriya?
Yeah, good question. Your question is such a important one. I don't know whether I'll be able to stick within the time limit. But anyway, I have to speak. Those who want to leave, they may leave. I have to start my answer a little differently. I had a talk with one of the retired lieutenant generals in India. And he said, he said many things, of course. One of the lines which he said was, winning of war depends on many factors. One of the factors is that those who are participants in the war, direct participants means the soldiers, of course, and the indirect participants, the citizens who give the logistical support, like all the food and other cooperation, everything, the army gets the priority, the defense forces get the priority during wartime. So they are also indirectly helpful. All of them, in their perception, it should be important that the country is fighting a just war. Just. Did you get me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
They are fighting a just war. Just war means a righteous war. When that sense of righteous war is ingrained in the citizens and the soldiers, the chances of winning increases multiple times. But if the soldiers are in doubt whether they are fighting a just war or not, or it is just the whims and fancy of the government in power, or if the citizens are not convinced, then the chances of losing the war increases multiple times. So first, if the nations are at war, first you have to understand through your own means whether the war is a just war or not. Okay? And if you feel that it is a just war, means it is for a right cause, then as a citizen you can do so many things. Okay? There were times when women in India were donating golden ornaments to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose for the formation of his army and feeding his army. So you can donate. You can be a campaigner who counters fake news, counters wrong views, anti-national views, or whatever. Okay? And you can pray for the winning of your nation. So as a non-fighting warrior, you can do a lot many things. Provided first you convince yourself that the war is for the right cause. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other question, please?
Good
Bye.
morning, sir.
Hi.
Acharya, that Buddhi Yoga you're explained is it right? I need of more explanation of Buddhi Yoga and your comparing of so many things. Is it right, sir? I want to explain of next class. If when you're giving of so many examples, it makes more clear. I thought this is my way.
Just a second. Let me at least understand your question.
Yes, sir.
Buddhi Yoga, I need to explain a little bit more.
Yes, sir. And with
Okay.
examples.
Okay, with examples. Fine,
Yes.
I will do that.
Yes, sir.
Briefly, I can tell even now, because
Okay, sir.
possibly next class may not be there, and so I'm not sure about the next one.
Okay.
Then after the next Sunday, of course, there will be a class. But since your doubt has come, let me explain it now.
Okay.
Buddhi Yoga is the change in Buddhi. What is that change? Earlier, I was following my dharma. Can you please, how to get her video on my screen? It changed. I want to see her face. Because it's a question. Is there a way
You will
out?
have to adjust. I can see,
Okay,
but you
okay. Here.
in the view. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it. So Buddhi Yoga is that change in thinking. What change? Earlier, I was following Swadharma either out of fear, that if I don't do, then I will incur sin, etc. Or due to that lobha. Lobha means that greed, that if I follow it, then I will gain wealth, I will gain happiness, my children will grow, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So these were the things which used to drive me to do right actions. Correct? Now I do the same right actions, neither out of fear, nor out of the greed for gaining something, small things, but for a different purpose. What is the purpose? Lasting freedom from sorrow. I don't know how I will get, but since Bhagwan has said, I have faith in it. So I'll tell him, look, Bhagwan, now I want to encash my good karma in this purpose. How to do it, how it can be done is your business. My job is making reserves of good karma and investing it, putting it in the deposit called moksha. Now, how to process it? You are the bank, you do it. I have signed my papers and given my karma wealth to you. The result, I want this. So then they will process the fixed deposit in a different way. It's a different instrument, different type of investment. Earlier, it used to be some other vouchers. You get bonus points for buying clothes. If you buy, then 10% discount. But those were different type of investments. Okay, those were temporarily helping investment. That type of karma. Now I want a permanent solution. I want my karma to be invested in something which is lasting. That becomes karma yoga. I hope I answered it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.